The internet is a strange place full of strange stories. One of the strange stories going around right now is that Bitcoin is draining liquidity away from gold. When one simply looks at the price action of Bitcoin, it certainly makes the story seem plausible. But let's look at the numbers and see what they tell us. Here is a chart of the market capitalization of Bitcoin dating back to January of 2016. Back then, the market cap of Bitcoin, which is simply the number of Bitcoin in existence times its market price, was about $6 billion. Recently, the market cap has increased to $350 billion, or roughly by a factor of 62. This is a very large increase, and I'd like to congratulate those who owned Bitcoin all the way through the past 5 years. They've done quite well for themselves. Well, at least those who have managed to cash out anyway. Price action tends to drive stories. And as I said, the story that we're exploring in this video is that Bitcoin is draining liquidity away from gold. Let's take a look at gold now. Here's the chart of gold's price going back to January of 2016. It started at a low of $1,060 per ounce. As of the 1st of December of this year, the price was $1,763 per ounce. This is a 1.7-fold increase in price over 5 years. Certainly respectable, but nowhere near the 62-fold increase of Bitcoin. But one cannot compare price change versus price change to see the impact that Bitcoin has had on gold. One has to compare the change in market capitalization. To do this, we need to estimate the market capitalization of gold. My records of historic world mine production show that there have been 6 billion ounces of gold mined throughout history. All of this gold still exists and is spread out over many owners in the world, both public and private. If we use this 6 billion ounce figure, we can determine the market capitalization of gold based upon the market price. And here is that chart. We can see that in early 2016, the market capitalization of gold was about $6.4 trillion. At the beginning of December of this year, that figure climbed to $10.6 trillion due to the change in market price. Let's normalize this chart to just show the change in market capitalization over this time period. By subtracting the initial $6.4 trillion market cap, we can come up with this chart showing gold's market capitalization change over the past 5 years. It was roughly $4.2 trillion. Now, let's add Bitcoin's change in market capitalization to this chart so that we can compare the two. And there you have it. This puts things into perspective. Bitcoin has changed in market capitalization by $0.3 trillion, whereas gold has changed in market capitalization by $4.2 trillion. Even though Bitcoin has increased in price by a factor of 62, the change in gold's market capitalization over this time period is 14 times that of Bitcoin. This is evidence, plain and simple, that Bitcoin could not have had a significant impact on gold. To say that it did would be like saying that taking a cup of water out of a swimming pool had a significant impact on its volume. Now, all that said, I have had a theory that Bitcoin could be attracting some speculative interests away from silver. I personally noticed that many silver YouTube channels changed their focus to cryptocurrency over the past decade, but that's only a qualitative observation on my part. Let's test my theory with some math. To do so, I'll have to beg your indulgence and use my own estimate of how much silver exists above ground in public and private hands. I have a record of all of the silver mined throughout history. It works out to be 51 billion ounces. What I don't know is how much of the silver has been consumed for industrial purposes. As silver investors are fond of saying, this silver is gone and not available for investment. So let's just assume that all but 30% of the silver mined throughout history has been destroyed, leaving only 15 billion ounces. If we use that assumption and multiply it by the market price of silver over the past 5 years, we can come up with a chart of how silver's market capitalization has changed over the past 5 years. Replacing gold's market cap change with silver's, we come up with this chart. Now we can see that it is certainly plausible that Bitcoin has attracted some interest away from silver. Bitcoin's increase in market cap has been 2.8 times larger than that of silver over this time period. Does this prove that Bitcoin is draining liquidity away from silver? No, it's not proof, but it's not disproof either. I don't see any strong correlations here that suggest that when Bitcoin's market cap increases, silver's decreases, or vice versa. But one thing that we do know is that historically, when gold has run up in price for multiple years, the gold to silver price ratio has declined. This time that hasn't really happened. The gold to silver ratio has declined from 78.26 to 76.68. It's a decline, but not the kind of decline that typically accompanies a bull run in silver. So while there's no evidence that Bitcoin is having a significant impact on gold, there might be some evidence that it is attracting investors away from silver. Just something to think about. I'd be happy to discuss this further in the comments section.